So, what's going on with everybody? It's been way too long.
It has been way
Jesus
too long.
Christ.
Yeah. Have you been like working a lot, Eric? What the fuck? I mean, like we were gearing up for a while. It's all right. This is fucking Metallica. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do it in September, and now we're halfway through October, and it's
I had a lot going on, so it wouldn't have been good for me.
Yeah.
That was
we had some
month and a half.
Yeah. My mom got a full knee replacement surgery. So there
both my parents spent time in the hospital since we last spoke.
Yeah. Yeah, so we've had some parental
had the Rona.
issues.
You did have Corona, yeah.
I had the Rona.
And you had the whole
family, because I'm a bad person.
Oh.
Well,
hey, you couldn't have
known. It's pretty contagious, apparently. I tell you what, coughing with Corona was like fire coming out of my lungs.
Oh, God.
And I couldn't stop. I still have a cough from it, actually.
Jesus.
I'm going to have to hit the mute button on that.
How long ago was that? Like
I got it at the end of August.
Wow, yeah, almost 2 months ago. Jeez.
Yeah. I mean, I don't cough constantly. I haven't coughed yet, but it comes frequently now.
You got to start smoking again.
Oh, I did. It hasn't helped.
Oh.
You did?
I've been smoking for a while, man, since I got out of the fire department.
Wow. All right.
I mean, not
daily. Yeah. You're not like doing it the way we used to do it. Yeah.
No. Well, you can't now. You can't go to Denny's and buy 1 cup of coffee and smoke 2 packs of cigarettes.
No.
Well, and I imagine the cost of cigarettes is probably skyrocketed too.
Oh, it's like triple what it used to be.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe more. Probably more.
You could buy 2 packs of cigarettes for the amount you cost for a cup of endless cup of Denny's coffee. Now it's gonna, cost you for half a, franchise in order to get a carton.
What it was $2 in high school, I think, right, Keith?
$2 a pack?
Yeah.
I remember one time I got a carton for $12. That was like a holy shit, man! I got a carton for $12.
Was it like $50 now?
Cartons, probably. No, they're like 100. They're close to 100 now.
Oh my God!
Jesus Christ! I have no frame of reference because I've never.
I don't know. Carton? No.
Until you just told me that it's 12.
It's 10 packs, and I think a pack is like $5 or maybe $7.
I get these. Whoops, that was loud.
Oh, you roll your own?
No.
Oh, you get Lucky Strikes. Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
You don't smoke red apples?
Yeah. I was thinking the same thing.
Oh,
that's Quentin Tarantino's brand.
Yeah, Pulp Fiction.
You know, a pack of red apples.
You staring at something, friend?
Hey, my friend. What is it?
Palooka?
Palooka?
Yeah.
Hey, my friend Palooka. I don't know what the fuck that means, but whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, her name is Luca.
I hope it's not bad.
She lives on the 2nd floor.
Well, we should get going. We got a lot to talk about.
Okay, it's a Metallica episode. Let's start off with Suzanne Vega.
Well, let's hit the intro first, and then yeah, that's a good segue.
That was probably about the same time.
Suzanne Vega,
maybe a little early.
Metallica.
I guess it was.
Suzanne Vega right into Metallica. That's just easy transition.
I think she does one of the covers on their new album.
I wouldn't be surprised. There's like 53 artists. So, all right, here we go.
Hold on to your butts.
Right there to our immediate left, we have all the folks gathering at the annual Saxon concert.
You've got people who really are into the occult and into Satan. They're propagating Satan, and I think it's a devastating thing.
Calms me down.
What's your favorite total metal video?
Zuckerberg and Gates and Buffett, amateurs can fucking suck it, fuck their wives, drink their blood. Come on, Jeff, get up!
Who'd win in a wrestling match, Lemmy or God?
Lemmy. God.
Wrong, dickhead. Trick question. Lemmy is God.
Such a fine line between stupid and clever.
And we're gonna be at the Wilson Theater tonight with Slayer. You're gonna be there too, right? Oh!
Did anybody notice anything different?
I did.
With that intro.
I didn't.
Okay, good.
Somebody got canceled.
Keith was zoned out.
Yeah. So, hey, welcome to Somewhere in Time Podcast, everybody. SomewhereInTimePodcast.com is where you find all of our stuff. So, yeah, all of our episodes are streaming on our website, so check that out. Do some quick intros here. I am Eric. We've got Tim here.
Yo.
Joe is here.
I play bass.
And Keith is here.
Joe plays bass instead of me.
Oh, okay.
Keith is lead bass guitar. Rhythm.
I don't know about that.
I'd love to hear that.
Oh man, my E string solos are phenomenal.
Just go up and down the neck.
No. Just open E the entire time. I mean, come on.
Oh, nice.
And it's like E. It's kind of tuned. It's E flattish.
It's punky.
Yeah, I've down tuned to E flat.
It's like that Pantera album, Cowboys from Hell. It's
Right.
not really in a key.
Yeah, you have to tune your knob like a quarter of an inch. All right, this episode we are talking about a little album by a little band called Metallica. Metallica is the name of the album, also known as the Black Album. I'm going to play a little bit of Wolf and Man to start us out.
Of Wolf and Man.
Because
why?
I want to play Sandman. Because everybody's heard
song.
Sandman. And
Yeah.
of
Wolf and Man. All right, I had not listened to this fucking album for decades.
Yeah.
I forgot this song existed. When I played this thing, I'm playing the first time, like in preparation for this. I'm like, all right, dude. I'm going like every single song. I'm just like is hitting me. I'm like, oh my god, shut up. I've heard, Unforgiven. I've heard fucking,
Wherever I May Roam.
Oh,
Well, that's why we're playing
and
it,
all of a
Chris.
sudden, this song comes like,
Exactly.
it's
a deep
pops
cut.
up, and it's just like,
It's not that
what
deep,
the
is it?
fuck is this?
No.
I've never heard this
for
song
him.
before.
They played
It's a live. It's
Yeah,
a
they play
live
it
staple, right? Kind of.
Not a
right?
staple, but it's been
They
played.
do play it live.
Like, I think it was.
It was on the tour.
They played it on
for
that
sure,
tour.
yeah. Anyway, let's play a little bit of it.
All right.
Let's stop babbling about it.
Eric says, "Shut the fuck up."
It's also a good song that kind of builds and gives you a little bit of every
Yeah.
instrument, Guitar. Got the drums coming in. Bass now.
Yep.
All right, I'm going to fade it out there. We're going to play a lot of this album, but a little later we're going to play a lot of this album. So
we're not talking about that one yet?
No.
Okay.
We'll do a full track by track thing later in the show.
There's 12 of them.
Actually, probably later in episode in part 2 of this episode. 'Cause
Yeah.
This is going to be a 2-parter for sure. So, just fair warning right now, if you're listening, we're probably not going to cover every single song on this episode. So just wait; it'll be there. Just got to wait a little bit.
Hey, are you guys hearing my fan? Do I need to turn that off?
I don't hear it.
Gotta turn it off.
I hear it very clearly.
If you hear it very clearly, you may want to turn it off.
All right, let me
Because
do
it might
that.
come through on the recording. I'm drinking Oxorcist.
Oh,
It's a really good.
I am
Old
drinking
Ox.
Athletic Brewing Upside Dawn,
Oh, it's way better.
non-alcoholic.
Oh,
I'm drinking water out of an aluminum Falcon.
Keith's drinking the Sal Volcano or Prince Herb beer.
that's right. Okay, so Metallica is James Hetfield
Come
on
on.
rhythm guitar
Lars.
and vocals, Lars Ulrich on drums, Kirk
And
Hammett on
bongs.
lead guitar, and Jason Newsted on bass. And this album is produced by Bob Rock with Hetfield and Ulrich, of course. And maybe we should get right into that. I mean, that's probably one of the biggest elements of this that people point to as far as why this is such a renowned album. The production is the
Ridiculous.
best they'd had up to that point for sure. Yeah, I mean it's funny because I actually think Load. I think the guitar sound on Load sounds better than this. Personally,
Really?
I do. Yeah. I think this is probably overall a better mixed and sounding album. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I think
Close. It's close.
Yeah.
because I was playing a little bit of Load the other day, and I was like, man, the guitar sound is great. It's a little more just beefy and just like
this. I noticed, especially on the remastered version, it was a lot more trebly than I remembered.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the Load guitar sound is a lot more bassy and just kind of, hits you in the gut. Like,
And I think the bass sounds better on Load too.
Mm-hmm.
I think all you really get with this on the bass for most of it is the treble from his picking. So it is by far an improvement over their first 4 albums with the bass sound, but you still can't really hear the bass.
Yeah.
I mean, you can hear it.
Even the kick
can hear it better than anything else. I mean, you can hear the bass pretty solid in master, but it's not nearly. It's not nearly as good as...
Not consistently, I don't think.
Yeah, it's not... Let's face it. The shit that was going down in all of the 80s didn't come close to what they started doing in the 90s. I don't know if it's some weird fucking technological master...
Well, that's not true for all bands. Like, Iron Maiden's always had a good bass sound in their albums.
I mean, you think in Iron Maiden, the original album, you think that it sounded that good?
I mean, you could hear it, right?
True.
I mean, I don't know.
Well,
I didn't want to get into a news or what is it? Injustice for Jason already.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're comparing to the the sound on Justice, it's night and day. I mean, it's not even there on Justice.
I mean,
you can hear it like 3 times in Justice if you have the right stereo system playing.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think we're getting a little nitpicky on this because I put this thing on the other day and it was it just came alive.
It sounds awesome.
Holy shit! It just.
Yeah, we are. I am being nitpicky about it.
Yeah, because this was like my stereo system just came alive, and as soon as like the first note of Enter Sandman came out, I was like, "Oh my god, this sounds so good."
Oh yeah, no, it sounds great. I mean, it's let's not we're kind of avoiding the point here, but yeah, it sounds like it's a fantastic sounding album.
And 1991.
1991, and it's Bob Rock, and I think that was probably one of the first things that we heard leading up to this album, like when they started writing the album, and then we heard, they hired Bob Rock.
Yeah.
And we look at his the albums that he produced before that.
Glam guy, right?
Yeah, he did Bon Jovi, he did Dr. Feelgood.
Yeah.
Which Dr. Feelgood sounds really good too.
And that was Metallica's point. It's like, okay, so he did Dr. Feelgood, but have you heard the drum sound on that album? It sounds fucking awesome. So, I think there was already a big from a fan perspective, from a lot of fans, they were already like, what? Already pushing back, like, oh my god, they hired the guy that did Bon Jovi, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So I think that was the first. For the people who don't like this album, I think that it was kind of one of the first things they probably point to, like, well, they hired Bob Rock.
And Bob Rock wrote the entire album.
Well, all of the bass work, that he did for all of the Metallica albums afterwards.
Well, it's good because they ran out of Mustaine songs to steal from.
That's right.
Well, we can play a clip of Bob Rock talking about.
Yeah.
Go for it.
He did not write the songs.
Yeah. People.
This comes through. Okay.
There's a whole thing about.
That's what he says.
The door was open just enough for Bob to sort of grab it and try and pull it more open and let us into a whole different way of doing things. And that was so amazing in retrospect. I mean, the 9 months we spent in this room were pure hell because we were just really reluctant.
I could see I wasn't going to get anywhere with arrangements. I concentrated on tempos and mainly the feel, trying to find the pocket for the tempos and just making changes like that and really listening and feeling out what the band was about.
Yeah, so that's it. And I've heard this on there's a Metallica podcast out right now, and I've been listening to every one of those episodes, and he talks about it on there too. It's that they came in with these songs, they've been writing these songs, and they were pretty much done. Like there were no changes to the
arrangements,
and stuff like that. He just went in and made it sound fucking awesome.
Yeah, so. He obviously had big producer ideas. Yeah. He's like put some tambourine in here, put some shakers here, whatever it is.
Strings.
He's like, he produced the album.
Right.
So he made it sound
big. And you probably know. I think we've actually talked about this before on the podcast, but that Metallica knew that they were on the cusp of being this humongous band, and I think that it was Lars and James were talking about how they needed to outdo Guns N' Roses. Like it was kind of like
it was a competition,
rivalry, sort of, competitive thing there, and
the two biggest in the genre,
right? And they knew that they weren't gonna be able to get to that next level with what they were doing before, so they really needed somebody with some gravitas and some more experience, I think, as a producer to come and get them to a next level.
Yeah. But there's also a thing that they don't really talk about now, it seems like. But I remember when this was happening, when the album came out, there was like a thrash band on every single block. There were so many thrash bands, and it had been just kind of like almost
the genre was kind of done to death, right?
Oversaturated.
Yeah. And there's a clip in that same folder, Eric, where the guy in The Crow. Remember the bad guy in The Crow?
Oh yeah.
he kind of described this like really well. Ironically, it was completely.
Is it the idea has become the institution?
Yeah, if you play that, that's exactly what Metallica was thinking. I was like, that's exactly what they thought.
Well. Devil's Night is upon us again. Problem is, it's all been done before. You see what I'm saying?
There's no reason to quit.
Wrong. Best reason to quit. Only reason to quit. Man has an idea. The idea attracts others, like-minded. The idea expands. The idea becomes an institution. What was the idea? See, that's what's been bothering me, boys. Because I tell you, when I used to think about the idea itself, it put a big old smile on my face. The idea has become the institution, boys. Time to move along.
Time to move along.
So, I mean, they went back to thrash, but I think at that point in 91, they were kind of like, where do we go? I mean...
Well, yeah, that's it. I mean, they've said that multiple times. Like, they reached their pinnacle as far as, like, what they could do with thrash, and they wanted to do something else. That's really all it is.
That quote you just played also is awesome, because I was just recently thinking about that movie and that character at the end when he says... but you put a smile on my face.
Yeah.
And I just now realized that's a callback to that line there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that movie's so great. Anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's like we were saying, they've said this so many times that it's just they wanted to write shorter songs. They wanted to be more simplistic. I mean, they've said, I remember Kirk on one of these podcast, and he said this multiple times before too. He remembers being on stage during the Justice tour in the middle of the song "And Justice for All" and seeing like eyes just glazed over, like people just like literally losing interest while they're sitting there playing it on stage.
Yeah,
and he's just I know that might be exaggeration.
I mean, that's an extraordinarily long song. It is repetitive. I mean, every single rock and roll song is never going to be avant-garde, fusion jazz where just insanity's going on nonstop and you never know what's going to happen next. You know what the fuck is coming next in every single one of the songs on Injustice for All.
Yeah.
When it came down to it, you knew it was going to be coming next eventually with everything that came out on, Metallica's Metallica.
Right.
I mean, these guys weren't creating anything brand new. They were changing the way they were doing things in order to, I really would say, adapt. I mean, the biggest thing when it comes to Metallica is they opened the rest of the world, to kind of the metal genre, or maybe just thrash. I mean, let's face it, the glam metal had been, overproduced and just such an eyesore of the industry overall.
Yeah.
And Metallica came up and became this enormous entity and this icon, and they just, I think the kind of relation you just stated earlier about Guns N' Roses with Appetite Destruction, set the fucking bar, and that album was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Just the instrumentation and everything like that. But let's face it, they definitely have a little touch of the more glam and rock and roll side of things.
They're really
any kind of thrash.
It's questionable.
No.
Are they even really metal? They looked metal, but their songs are just
hard
rock.
They're hard
right?
rock.
Yeah, they're like a newer Aerosmith, really.
Yeah,
right?
They're just hard rock.
I think they have the edge of like
Yeah, they
Axl's,
do.
Axl's
and
lyrics
they're
and stuff like
dangerous.
Well, their look, they almost stole completely their look. Oh my god! They stole their look from Hanoi Rocks, right? Like,
Yeah.
almost completely, and then they just played like heavier rock songs.
Yeah.
So, but
they were some talented motherfuckers, though.
What band did we just talk about recently? Where they were saying how like the songs got to a point where they're so complicated, like you couldn't even do anything but concentrate on the song.
That was Void. That was Void.
No. That was G.G. Allen and the Murder Junkies.
Oh, we talked about that.
Right.
I don't remember that episode.
That was your other podcast, Keith.
That was that Keith only episode.
Yet to be released.
It was called "Fuck You, Lars."
The bonus track.
That's right.
But yeah, I think that's part of it too with Metallica. They were probably like, we going to get more complicated and faster on the next album?
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, if they had it, probably it would have been fine.
Who knows?
Yeah, exactly. They could have done it, and I'm sure all of their base would have still loved it, and no one
But
else.
they would have been AC/DC at that point. You know, just
But
doing
would
the
they
same-
have
or
they
Iron
have gotten
Maiden,
as
guess
big
you
as?
could
I
say,
mean,
too.
they were
No.
big during Justice, but they wouldn't have
Yeah.
gotten as big as they are
No.
now. Without,
I mean,
without the
let's
Black
say
Album.
you mentioned AC/DC. AC/DC is legendary. Metallica would have never become what they are had this album not broken those doors out. And
In
I
fact,
hate
I would
saying
say
that, you know.
AC/DC went more. Well, I think when Bon Scott died, they said, "Well, here's our sound, and we're just going to do this album."
Yeah,
over
for
and over."
sure.
Pretty much.
You know,
Yeah,
because they were way their Bon Scott stuff sounds way. Well, some of it
it's
sounds the same.
edgier.
So, a lot of it sounds way more different than the
Yeah.
Brian Johnson stuff.
But then that kind of begs the question of like, so I mean, you'll read people say, okay, well, the songs on the Black Album are great songs, but not for a thrash band, so they're not good. Which is
But that doesn't make sense.
It's a really
And
strange thing to say.
That's the big thing about that whole sellout argument. It's like, well, okay, fine, but what if Metallica had come out with this album and that was their like debut album,
right,
in 1991?
Yeah.
You wouldn't have been. You can't say that sounded like anything. You know,
Right.
It was out. What do you think? What could you compare it to that was out at that time? Because the songs are heavier than anything that was on the radio at the back then.
There's also a slower tempo. There's also a slower tempo,
Right,
to,
right.
A number of them that.
But but that doesn't mean it sounded like other things. It was just a tempo.
No.
Yeah.
Which I think that had a lot to do with them playing arenas as well. You know, the slow the tempos down so the songs sound better in an arena environment, because an arena is not a good place to play thrash. I mean, the sound just
No,
bounces all over the place
yeah.
in a place like the Capitol Center.
Right.
It sounds better nowadays, but back then, you know.
Jiffy Lube Live.
Yeah. I think that was part of the decision, was like, we're playing these bigger places and, you know, battery doesn't sound as good, you know, in row.
Yeah, they've said that too. They definitely said that too. Yeah.
Yeah,
But also think about what was
that was
going on
part
in
of it.
music at the time, in metal, really too. Like, you know, you didn't have a lot of, like, thrash was still there, but
Still,
you know,
yeah.
it wasn't. I don't know. I feel
I mean,
like
this-
this was the shift of like grunge and everything too. So
Yeah.
Yeah, but they didn't know that was coming.
yeah,
Well, not to
maybe-
mention, well,
not
time
when they
out,
were
yeah.
writing the album for sure. They didn't.
Yes.
No.
But
in 1990.
well, maybe they had. Maybe there was some inertia that knew that, like just like that thing from the Crow that you played. They were like,
Yeah, I think that's more what it was they knew like this bubble's about to burst. Like this.
it's oversaturated.
Yeah, the thrash stuff is kind of
And
it's done what it can do. It's reached the
Well, not to mention, let's face it, you know, as I think we stated earlier, you know, every single major label had been for the last 4 years trying to just regurgitate exactly what had been done before. So everything
As
that was
they do
popping
with every
out-
genre.
Yeah.
Exactly. Everything that they're just finding somebody that did the exact same thing and trying to capitalize on it. And as much as I'm sure, you know, those, you know, the bands that we laugh at, you know, the Enough's Enough and, you know,
Trickster.
Trickster, exactly. You know, all those bands made some cash for a short period of time. You know, that was garbage, and it should have it destroyed the integrity of the genre because of, you know,
Yeah.
the industry itself trying to capitalize on revenue.
Well, what about our expectations? I want to kind of go into this discussion. Like when we were
for this, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
like,
yeah, of course.
This was. I remember being in high school. I think it was ninth grade when the song came out. Right, 91.
I was a
summer.
I was a sophomore. I was a sophomore. No.
I was working at Pizza Hut.
I think we were going to sophomore year.
I was a sophomore. So you.
Well,
were
they came
going
out
into
August. They came out in August.
We were going into our sophomore year.
Yes, we were going.
The build-up had been like towards the end of our freshman year.
I remember as far back as like 8th grade, people asking me because I was wearing nothing but Metallica shirts. What's the new Metallica album coming out? When's the new Metallica album coming out? I was like, I don't know. I'm not in the fucking band. But yeah, since we had just got into metal probably 4 years prior, really hardcore, and this was, Justice had come out. I think we all remember when that came out, and this was like the next big one. So yeah,
it was even later for me, probably Keith too.
Yeah, I guess so.
No, for me, it was 86. So this is 5 years running.
Yeah.
89 is when I found music,
88, but I think maybe it was when I got into Guns N' Roses, or started to, and then they followed right after that. So you're right. This was probably the first. Yeah, this was definitely the first album that I was like hugely like. I read articles and articles and articles in all the magazines about it, and I know at least the three of us. I don't know about Keith, but we bought that on that day.
Oh yeah, of course.
Absolutely.
Right. That morning, actually got up early for once.
I had to go out. Well, I
think you woke me up when you got home.
I had to get a ride to Springfield Mall from my parents because I couldn't.
Wow, that is a hell of a ride.
Well, it was summer, so we weren't in school. So as soon
they had to get off of work and take us to Sam Goody or whatever it was.
Yeah. But I mean, that's this. I think I've already told this story, but for me, like we found out that the day it was coming out. My brother, myself, and our friend down the street, Bill, and all of us were enormous Metallica fans. And of course, we found out when it's coming out, and that day, both my brother and Bill had to work. They both had jobs. I was still 15, so I didn't have one. So it became my job to figure out a way to get over to Kent Mill Records to buy the damn thing. Now, of course, I was 15 and didn't even have a driver's permit yet. I just turned 15.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there pacing back and forth. Well, my family had relatives come into town.
Wait, you hadn't turned 15 yet?
Hadn't I?
No.
I would have just finished
91, August 12th, 1991.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So I would have turned 15
a week later. Yeah.
6 days later.
Wow.
One way or another. When this thing came out, and I'm sitting there just pacing back and forth because I'm pissed off. I've got the money from my friend and my brother. I'm not even going to be buying a copy for myself. But I'm just like, oh, what the hell am I doing? Of course, my family has all these relatives in town, and they could just see I'm just sitting there like pacing back and forth. And my Uncle Tom is just like, hey, and I'm just like frustrated. I'm pissed off. And my mom's just like, you need to relax. And one way or another, my Uncle Tom was just like, what's going on? I'm like, I have to get to the store. I have to buy this because I'm sitting there absolutely expecting Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. I am
expecting ask for a ride.
That's the one thing. My Uncle Tom was just like, yeah, I'll give you a ride. I'm like, you will? And it's just like, oh my God, he doesn't understand what I'm going to be buying here. Oh my God, he's going to go to hell.
You're not buying drugs. Oh my God.
One way or another. And that's the one thing. Like, I still remember, we get into his car, they came down from, I think he lived in New Jersey or something at the time. He was around Philly. But one way or another, he drives me over to Kent Mill. It's like a 3-minute car ride. I am expecting utter bedlam. I am expecting motherfuckers stabbing each other. And it's just like, I'm just like walking into, Kent Mill. We all know what I'm talking about.
Was this the one across from Woodson?
Oh, of course, in Fair City Mall. Yeah.
Okay.
And I walk in there, and of course, I'm pretty sure there was a little display and the album sitting there, and I just walked over, grabbed two. I was expecting, to get jumped or somebody to stab me.
Oh my God!
And
Good Lord, Keith!
I grabbed two. I walked over. I put them on the the thing, and I figure the cashier's gonna be like, oh, you did it. How did you? Congratulations! But no,
congratulations!
Ding, ding, ding. Yeah,
you did it.
$14.95, please. I handed the cash, and they handed it back to me, and I'm like, I just walk out, get in the car, and of course, what sucked is, neither of these were for me, so I couldn't even fucking listen to the fucking thing. It was one for my brother and one for my friend Bill.
Would your brother really minded if you'd opened the?
Yeah, just cut the thing open.
Yes, he would have.
Wow.
I think,
douche.
dude,
Douche move.
At this point in my life, I had a tape case of 30 cassettes that hadn't been filled yet. Most of what I had was all dubbed from my brother and Bill, and I
can't imagine he would be.
One way or another, I didn't listen to it until he got home, and it was just like, oh, and then of course,
God,
we did, yes, and then he got off work, we got to listen to it. I think we had to spend more time with all of my grandfather's relatives.
And what's crazy is they had only released Enter Sandman by then.
Yeah, exactly.
They didn't, because I think it's pretty common to have 2 singles out now, or I don't even know what they do now. But I feel like that's like, I think
I don't remember what they did then.
Or Mastodon, they've released 2 before the album comes out. I think that's Gojira did 3, I think, right?
Yeah, Gojira did 3.
Yeah, there were 3. Yeah, but Sandman was about 2 weeks before the album came out, so we were already sick of it.
On July 29th, so yeah.
We were in Florida when it came out.
Yes, we were on vacation at our aunt's house. Staying at our aunt's house.
Yep.
And staying up late to watch that video.
Did you think you were going to get stabbed?
No. But, I mean, if I was in Florida now, I might think that. But
Keith was living out that Quebec version of their, what's it called? Is it Metallica Quebec? Or
Quebec Magnetic, I think, right?
Yeah.
Quebec
with like the little scenes in there with the gang violence and all that.
Oh, that was Through the Never.
Oh, Through the Never, yeah.
Through the Never, that's it,
Yeah, he's picturing that, yeah. People hanging and stuff.
Like, there's just riots everywhere.
Yeah. Cars getting smashed
at
in.
Kemp Mill Records. Watch out for the riots at Kemp Mill.
City Mall.
In Fairfax City. It's dangerous. The slums of Fairfax City.
Don't go near the Einstein Brothers bagels. There's going to be dangerous people over there.
Well, I don't think we were surprised by the album itself, because we had heard interviews with the band on Metal Shop for the entire summer, and they were talking about how it's going to be a little bit different.
Oh, yeah.
Especially Jason was like, guys, just be ready because this is a little bit different. It might take a few listens to get used to. So it didn't really, I don't recall being surprised by it. I remember our neighbor wasn't too thrilled with it. And our brother, Steven, he liked it, but he had a couple issues with it as well.
Really? I didn't know that.
He didn't like Nothing Else Matters. And then Tim Capurso was like, he thought the Skid Row album was better.
Oh, come on.
He didn't like, he didn't like he's like, what's all this groove shit they're doing now? What's all this fucking groove shit? And why is it so slow?
You mispronounced good.
Right.
What?
Groove. I said you mispronounced good. What's all this good shit?
He was saying Slave with the Grind is a heavier album than the Black Album.
Yeah. Whatever.
I was like,
it's not.
What the?
Well, we also had an awesome review from Lon Friend to
oh yeah.
Whoa,
the tracks.
Wait, hold on. I think I have it queued up here.
Sad but true.
Turn it up.
Sad but true. Crushing bass on this song.
Hold on, I gotta rewind it.
He sounds like that teacher from Beavis and Butthead.
Now let's flip it over.
Like him, you're right.
Whoa, the tracks. Enter Sandman. You've seen that video here on MTV.
Stuart.
Stick it in the hole, Stuart.
Whoa, the tracks.
One more time.
Crushing.
Whoa, the tracks.
We should use that every time we're talking about an album now.
Yes.
Before we start talking about the song.
Here's our next segment. Whoa, the tracks.
Let's get into track 1. Whoa.
That's right. Whoa, the tracks.
Here's the logo. Now let's flip it over. Whoa, the tracks.
All right.
He also in that clip he does mention that that's the Metallica Black Album.
Yeah, he does say that.
Which
everybody already knew.
Let's get into that after we
Okay.
I still don't understand.
Well, we can get into it now. I'm not going to play it.
All right. Yeah, go ahead, because I don't understand this. Who the hell?
Lon Friend is timeless. We can play him
Who
whenever.
didn't call it the Black Album? I think
Everybody was. I don't know why. Yeah, that Metallica on their latest podcast was saying that the Black Album didn't come until weeks, maybe months later. No.
There's
even a clip from Lars from Metal Shop saying you can call it the Black Album. You can call it whatever you want.
Yeah.
That was before the album came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, with after Spinal Tap. Come on.
Yeah, it was
obviously.
immediately the Black Album.
I mean, they were even saying if you watch the Year and a Half of Life, where they're showing that they first get the pressing of the what the album cover looks like, and they showed the cameras like, look, none more black. So
yeah, I mean I don't know what they're talking about.
It's probably all
selective memory. Yeah, they're getting old.
a lot of brain damage. and those guys.
Yeah. I mean, I was
Yeah.
like, we were on the same age, so I think I was 16, not yet 16 when we heard Enter Sandman, and yeah, I mean, I was blown away. That was,
Yeah, that's
sounds awesome.
Blown away.
Blown away.
I know. I mean, I knew it was a little bit different, and the album as well. I knew it was a little bit different, but I didn't have an issue with it. I don't recall being like, well, this sucks, or like, I mean, I was a big fan of Lars's double bass, so I thought that was probably the only thing really missing from the album was a good amount of double bass. And there is some hidden on a Wolf of Man has some really fast double bass. But
hey, we're not talking about that.
I know, but when we get there, we'll pull it up for everybody. But it's buried. It's actually
I know.
16th note double bass.
I want to talk about that.
Yeah, we'll get into that. But I mean, that was probably the only thing that really kind of like bothered me was like, well, he cut back on the double bass. But other than that, I thought it was solid. I mean, the songs are great. I definitely didn't feel like betrayed, which was one of the big words thrown around about this album is betrayed.
I think
betrayer.
Yeah.
I think if you're a fan of nothing but thrash and even the heavier metal than thrash, like the grindcore, whatever you want to call it, then of course you're going to be disappointed with this album. You're not going to like this album. And I get if you're a fan of that kind of music and you don't like Metallica's music after Injustice for All, okay, that's fair. Fine.
Yeah, I get it.
But if you're a little open-minded and you like all different kinds of music, and I don't understand why you wouldn't like this album if you were a Metallica fan. I know there's a lot of them out there that aren't, but I just don't get it.
I mean, it's that, it's the Big Mac argument. You wanted a Big Mac and they gave you Filet of Fish. I said it before on a different podcast.
I guess.
They up to Injustice for All had created a product that people expected to hear. I mean, they wanted to hear speed metal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't get it this time around, so they're like, well, this sucks. I mean, I understand the argument. I just don't.
Well, applying that whole sellout thing, I think is
yeah, it's not selling out.
Even though we had talked about how they knew they were going to try to sell more albums, like they wanted to get to that next level. But I always go back to that Tool song where I sold out long before you knew my name. You know, like everybody's doing this. Just as soon as you take money for a gig, you're selling out.
Well,
no, you disagree?
I mean. There's an integrity in what you're doing, and if you stay honest to what you're doing instead of flat out, with all of the glam metal clones, that we were just talking about, there isn't a lot of integrity to that when it comes to Metallica.
Well, who says that though? I mean,
I do. I mean, I think
integrity. How though?
There's honesty in what you're creating. That you actually. Just like, if somebody is putting a car together, you want to utilize the best materials, you want to create the best product.
It's not a car.
I think
exactly. It's a piece of music.
It's art.
I think his point is that if some band is doing one thing and then they see that a glam is blowing up and they switch to being a glam band, they've lost their integrity. Like if they're just rock
like
band,
Pantera.
Okay, fine.
Like Pantera,
but in reverse.
In reverse.
In reverse, yeah.
So, Keith, do you think that they lost integrity by kind of ditching the speed metal?
That's the big question. It's just like, why would they do that? Because, I mean, let's face it, there weren't, you look at Puppets, who else was doing it as well as them? Sure, you could say Slayer, Megadeth, Anthrax, but, as we've already kind of relayed, they had already come to the point where they felt, overburdened by what they were doing. To try and kind of become virtuosos within thrash was virtually impossible.
A little quiet.
I mean, let's face it, when you're playing that fast, you can't really kind of, as much as you could, Yngwie Malmsteen, like some guitar solos, and Hammett is more than capable of doing that. What else are you going to do with your rhythm section, So, I mean, they wanted to try something different, and that's what they did. I mean, the funniest thing, I still remember, the Dave Lombardo, like, when he first got it, he threw it down the stairs, is the thing that he said, and he says it wasn't a metal album. And I don't understand that, because it's definitely a metal album.
Oh, yeah.
It's just not...
It's not the same kind of metal that Metallica had done before.
I mean, that's the whole thing. It wasn't a Metallica album. It was, as I think you even relayed, it wasn't what their fan base.
It wasn't that
was
progression
expecting.
from
Right.
what they'd been on.
See, but I
Where
think
they
if
were
they,
From Dyer's Eve to Enter Sandman.
right, exactly, yeah.
That's a
But I think
pretty
if they were
rough part of
selling out, to Joe's point earlier, they would have been trying to write something that sounds like what was popular at the time. But again, to Joe's point, this didn't sound like anything at the time. Like they weren't writing something that sounds like, Bon Jovi, or whatever was the big stadium music at the time.
That's the one thing. That's the one thing. But that's the whole thing. What was popular in '91, and not that when they were writing these songs in 1990, they even knew it was going to be popular in '91. Nobody knew it was going to be popular in a year.
No.
Yeah.
Well,
go ahead.
This album, I mean, it conceivably could have flopped.
No. Yeah.
It was a big risk. Yeah.
Yeah. They decided to do something different, and these songs didn't sound like really anything that I can compare it to at that time. And it could have easily been a disaster for them. So it was a huge risk. But I think they made the right gamble. I think history.
No, well, yeah,
yeah.
It's one of what is
It seems to have worked out well for them in the end.
Yeah.
What is it? One of 3 albums to stay on the top. Was it top 100 or top 2? Like top 500?
I think it's top 100.
Yeah, it remains on the top one. This and Dark Side of the Moon and like the Beatles best, like the best of the Beatles or something like that.
And it went back to number 1.
Yeah,
with the reissue.
When the reissue came out, it went back to number 1.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, obviously they made the right decision. So for their success, anyway. Other people may disagree with that they made the right decision, but whatever, man.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out my face with that shit.
Look at Slayer. Like Slayer got kind of boring after Seasons in the Abyss.
One more album.
Yeah.
The next album was good.
It was. I mean, it was good, but it was getting to be like
exactly.
This is what you guys
you
do.
look at, yeah, but that's the whole thing. You look at the genre. Was by the mid '90s was I don't know if you could say it imploded on itself, but it completely. New metal grew.
I think it did.
Exactly. It was just like, what? We got to come up with a different way to do things. And new metal was definitely, it's definitely metal. It's definitely still part of that genre, but it's definitely not anything like what they were doing in 1991.
Like I think there was a confluence of heavy, all metal had kind of oversaturated itself with that sound that it was in. And then you also right at the same time, I don't even know if they're somehow correlated, but grunge really hit the scene. And
it was a month later, really. I mean,
but for like us as metal fans, like grunge was like easily like, yep, this is different and we love it, and it fits right in. They kind of sing about the same shit,
like
it was fun.
just in a different
Easy
way.
to digest for sure, yeah.
And it was actually like you couldn't really separate a lot of these bands like Soundgarden and Alice in Chains. You could easily just make the argument they were just new versions of metal bands at that
Absolutely.
point.
I mean, they say themselves we were influenced by Black Sabbath and bands like that. It's like
those two especially,
obviously.
yeah.
So it's just a different kind of metal, really.
And then think of the other bands that put out albums, the year following this.
Yeah.
Megadeth is the huge example. Like,
completely.
That's the thing. This
They
Metallica
completely
has
changed their sound.
they had the flexibility to be able to do this.
Mm-hmm.
They have,
and I don't know how much of it was Dave Mustaine saw the shift. And said,
he did.
I think we need to do this too.
Oh yeah,
definitely.
He definitely did.
Slayer
I don't know if it was
Slayer
as
doubled
drastic.
down and stayed. Even Overkill put out their worst album of their all time when it came to 1990. Was it 93?
93, yeah.
Because I think they were trying to be grungy or something on that album, but
I don't know.
Like this was just a huge paradigm shift in the music genre for metal.
Yeah, it was. A lot of bands.
I don't know how much Metallica knew it was coming and changed, or maybe they just decided to do it, and all these other bands decided to do it too.
Yeah, I think it's the latter. I don't think they knew it was going to be this much of a shift because of them.
So their timing was very, very fortuitous. On this.
Yeah. Because they're kind of selfish in terms of like what they want to put out musically. They do it kind of to please themselves, and if you like it, that's great. And if you don't,
that's my exact point. That's not a sellout. If they're doing it for
Yeah.
themselves and they're writing the music that they want to write and putting it out there for people to digest however they want to, that's not selling out. Selling out would be writing songs that sound, or having other people write your songs, or
Yeah.
Oh, 311.
Shh.
Oh. Yeah, okay, so I understand. I get your point with that, Keith, as far as...
Damn straight, motherfucker.
I mean, Bob Rock did change the sound sonically.
I hope you learned your lesson. It did, and it hurt.
Yeah, the sound was drastically changed, but much for the better. I mean, Jesus.
I
One thing
don't know I'd say that. I mean, I'm
What?
sorry.
The sound of the album, not the song.
Okay, the production,
the production
level, and however,
sounds
the fact that you can hear bass.
Yeah, I'm talking about the production, the mixing, all that. Not the not the
Not
song.
necessarily, but the sound of the album.
Not the drastic tempo change, not the
right.
Yeah.
Let's all talk. Let's talk about this, because I mean that's a big thing. I still remember when the album came out. My sophomore year of high school started, and PE class. There's this kid Alec, and he's just like, "All right, Keith, what do you think about the new Metallica?" I, of course, responded, "The greatest album that's ever been recorded. This is so drastic. It's mind-blowing how they could have done this." And of course, I'm just regaling, just like, jerking myself off. Oh, my kids are upstairs right one way or another. I was just, rolling over about how, like, I can't believe how could they be this incredible? And, Alec flat out responded, just kind of rolling his eyes at his tongue, just like, yeah, of course you're saying that. It's brand new. It's a band that you love. You have to love it. You're programmed to love it. You're never going to think it's going to be garbage. I guarantee you, give it a little time, and you're going to come back and think this thing sucks. And he was right.
Mm.
I mean, I don't think it sucks. I don't think it sucks, but it's definitely when I want to grab a Metallica album. I mean, let's face it. I was saying when we first started talking about this, I totally forgot that one of these songs even existed. I did too. This is the other. I have not listened to this album in 20 or 30 years. It's mind blowing.
I hadn't listened to it front to back in a while.
Yeah, I mean a bit of front to back for me too. But.
So where's this Alec now? Where's his
I mean, I don't think. I don't think he ended up graduating with us.
I think he died. I think he died of cancer in high school. And nobody cared.
Or maybe he just moved.
What if this album had, like, what if it opened with a thrash song, and then maybe the fifth or sixth song was like a speedy song, and then they closed with a speedy song? Would people be, oh, okay, it's because they kind of do that. They most of their albums have fast songs and then mid-tempo songs and slow songs. I mean, even like Ride the Lightning opens with a fast song.
Yeah.
Lightning is slowish and then has fast parts.
Fade to Black is
slow. Bell Tolls is slow. Creeping Death is mid-tempo.
From Whom the Bell Tolls? Come on.
That's totally slow. I mean,
wait, we learned how to say that word correctly.
Yeah.
Call of.
Anyway, yeah. So I was wondering, actually, what if they had taken Struggle Within and like doubled the length of the song and opened the album with that? Because when they play this whole album back, front to back, they play the album in reverse order. They actually open with Struggle Within and close with Inner Sandman, and it works really, really well. I know, Joe, you're not a big fan of that song, but the way they do it, they actually extend the opening. They make it a little heavier.
I am a fan of that song.
Okay. And there's a riff. We'll get into the song later on, but there's a riff that it's probably the best riff in the song.
There's something about it. Well,
I think that's what it needed. I think it needs better lyrics, and I think there's a part in it that needed to be really stretched out to almost like a blackened middle part, because there's this really heavy riff that you could have half-timed the drums. You could have opened the album with Struggle Within with different lyrics, and it would have been kind of cool.
I bet people would like it a lot.
Yeah, because you go from Dyer's Eve to this thrashier
an album
thing.
That's like 16 times platinum. It's hard to say that
Yeah, I know. And I mean, Enter Sandman, it should have, I think Enter Sandman is the correct way to do it for what this album is supposed to be doing, the intent of it and whatnot. But if you want to have like some kind of a continuity between Justice and then going into this new era, I think Struggle Within is a good way to get you there. It's a bridge to this newer sound. And it could have been really expanded. It could have been like a 6-minute long song with a big chunky middle part. And I have the live thing.
Yeah, I was going to play that if you want.
Yeah, it's kind of just play it.
Long,
you'll get it's a little long, but you'll get the sense of what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Why don't we just make our own cover version of it?
We could. We actually could.
I know we could.
Yeah. Like, imagine this is how the album opens.
With the crowd?
Not the crowd. No crowd. Just that riff and.
That sounds pre-recorded to me.
Well, it is.
It is. They did this for their live show.
That's even longer, isn't it?
Yes, it's all stretched out.
You could put more guitar harmonies there too.
Yeah, you could. More Justice type stuff.
Yeah, you got a descending part with it.
Mm-hmm.
That's very Blackendy.
Yeah,
actually.
Mm-hmm. I know. That would have been awesome.
Yeah.
It would have been awesome. I mean, it really would have been such a great way to open the album.
I want to talk about lyrical content on this album a little bit. And the vocals, really, because, I mean, that's another big change from Justice to this album. Or the vocals and the lyrics are quite different from Justice, really.
He's not screaming all the way through.
Yeah. So I'll start with lyrics. This little thing that James talked about with lyrical content on this album.
The only way was to really go inward and a little more universal. When you start talking about your own feelings and more just kind of questions about life and things that touch everyone. You can't go wrong with that, once you start talking about your own feelings, and a little less about the outside world.
There's another clip too. Hold on. This was on Metal Shop.
Yeah.
Radio show. There's a little more about the lyrical change.
Whereas songs in the past have dealt with political or social issues, the tunes on this record probably contain the most personal lyrics James Hetfield has ever written. He spoke to Metal Shop about the change.
Getting the things from within was a lot harder and more gratifying, though, in the end for me. On the Justice thing, it was more of a kind of socially conscious type thing, and I found that it was too easy to sit down and watch CNN and, oh, there's a song. Oh, oil spill, there's a song. And, it got too easy. And when it's easy, it's no fun, And trying to dig stuff out was more of a challenge, and we're always up for challenges.
James Hetfield of Metallica.
That guy's voice. James Hetfield of Metallica.
James's voice is so high there.
I think it was
he's almost 30 at this point, right?
It might have been my cassette player. I think it plays things too fast.
Yeah, I'm looking at the track listing of the songs. I think the only one that is kind of like outwardly looking or I was gonna say political, but not an introspective viewpoint is probably Don't Tread on Me.
Don't Tread on Me.
Yeah.
Even A Wolf and Man has a very introspective.
It does.
Feel to it.
It does.
It does.
Yeah.
Do you know what that's?
It's about
it has the word
werewolf.
I hunt, therefore I am.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, we can get to it when we talk about it, but it's not about werewolves. What?
It's about hunting one. Well,
it's about killing them. Well, we'll get to maybe Holier Than Thou is kind of. It's still about
That's
arrogance,
relationship
emotion, but it's more about like fuck you for judging me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But still, these are, and it's not like he hasn't touched on that shit way throughout their catalog, probably.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe nothing on Kill 'Em All, probably, right? I don't think anything in there is, self-reflective or...
No,
well, Metal Militia.
Phantom Lord. Hit the lights.
I mean, jump in the fire when he's talking,
The original lyrics, definitely.
Original, yeah.
They would have been...
The Mustaine lyrics, yeah.
But
I make my pistons bulge.
But that's
mechanics.
Oh, sorry.
But you can see how you. Well, no, but it's the same. It's the
same
thing.
The jump in the fire lyrics were worse though.
Can you? I can't imagine.
Oh,
why
that's right. They were different. Okay.
How could Dave Mustaine, a 16-year-old, write a song about wanting to have sex? What kind of weirdo is he?
Well, James talked about that on the podcast too. The fact that he actually compared "Kill 'Em All" to these lyrics. He's like, "Kill 'Em All" was like, bang your head against the stage and fucking all that stuff and nothing but living metal and all that.
It's all fucking teenage metal.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this is way more personal. I mean, nothing else matters. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That's the most personal you could get. Really, writing for Metallica anyway, at the time.
Yeah.
So yeah. But yeah, vocally too. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, do you want to incorporate the subject of lyrics as we talk about the songs, or do you want to just kind of
we can touch on that a little more when we talk about the songs.
Because Inner Sandman's about being like scared of all sorts of shit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And originally it was about crib death.
Originally it was about crib death.
Yeah. But
I sleep in a crib, so I deal with it every day.
Yeah. How many people? Yeah. Anyway, we'll get into that when we talk about that. But yeah, I want to talk about vocals. I mean,
yeah.
I think that was, and again,
is this a Bob Rock influence too? I would imagine.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, for sure. Let me see. I have some clips on that too. What's a good one, Tim?
You could do. Well, you're talking about lyrics. Or talking about vocals.
Vocals.
Okay.
Here's one. I think he talked a little bit about losing his voice, but I think he talks about his vocals on this one too.
I did actually lose my voice on the Black Album. I pushed it too hard. And that's actually what got me into a maintenance program and taking a lesson.
He does the
I went to this guy who was a cantor for a church or a synagogue, and I walked in and I was so scared. He was sitting there with the piano and okay, la 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 la. I was like, oh no. So and I looked up on the wall and I saw a few gold records from other bands. Like, okay, I'll give it a shot here, and he got my voice back into shape to where I actually could produce a note again. Because it was bad. It was, I had nodes, calluses, and all of that, and he got it back into shape, and it definitely built my confidence. And I didn't end up singing like an opera singer. Even if I wanted to, I can't do it. I'd still sing like a sailor.
16 was the other one you're looking for.
Sing like a sailor.
Oh yeah, okay, that's what I was looking for. Yeah, this is Bob Rock on James's singing.
The simplicity in the songs left it wide open for vocals to take over, and that was kind of a first time. Usually the vocals for me were, someone's got to sing and there's got to be words in the song, so I'll do it.
I just said to James, I said, if we can get it so, one track of vocals can sound great. People are going to relate to that. They're going to hear that there's one person singing it. And I tried to bring out the person, and he ended up really liking the sound. And in terms of the relationship with James that I had, I think that really broke the ice.
It's pretty good, but it just needs a little more soul or character, a little more Hetfield in there.
I'd never be where I was today without his willingness to push me farther and get me to open my mind a little more about different singing styles, different microphones, different feels, getting into different moods and things like that with the vocals.
Yeah, when Bob Rock said doing one track,
yeah,
I don't know if you caught that, but this is something he talked about on the podcast recently too, the Metallica podcast, where all the other Metallica albums were he doubled the vocals when he did them. So he would sing one track and he would just sing over top of that same track.
He would do it like lyric by lyric, like one line, stop.
Right. Yeah.
Do another take. And so it was perfectly matched. It was always doubled perfectly, which is insane. And Bob Rock's like, you do what?
Yeah.
That's stupid.
Yeah.
That's
just
just
a weird way of recording.
I'm sure it was a lack of confidence in his vocals.
I think so. Yeah.
Back
so.
like if he cracked a little or something, he wanted to have a cover. And they do that with their guitars a lot too. Like double track them for no
double
reason.
track guitars is. I mean, that was
That's
part of
pretty
what
regular. That's
everyone
pretty
did.
normal,
Yeah.
I think they
People still do that every day.
So
Yeah.
really?
Yeah. I think
think
so.
so.
Layering, yeah.
But the vocals, I'd never heard anyone double tracking vocals before. That's kind of weird.
We didn't double track the Instinct demo.
We did guitar.
No.
We double track guitar.
No shit.
Yep. I did the guitar parts twice on that. Anyway, yeah. So I thought that was interesting.
Everyone but me.
I'd forgotten. So
I've never double tracked my bass lines.
No, because you'll hear me fuck up twice as often.
You don't remember because I did it all in one take. That's how fucking good I am. That's why you don't remember it.
Yeah.
It's true. Anyway, I don't have much more on the vocals. I just wanted to point that out. That this was a big departure for him.
Yeah,
Metallica. It's obvious though. I think it should be obvious.
Yeah.
I mean, the two the ballady songs, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it's
ballads.
I mean, as much as he did do, he sang in one easily.
Sure.
I mean, this is like Fade to Black as well. So it's not necessarily that was brand new, but he definitely, you can tell that
there's more notes in the singing.
Exactly.
There's more harmonies too. There's more vocal harmonies in this album than anyone before. I mean, there were some little harmonies here and there in one and stuff like that, but a lot of vocal harmonies on this compared
They
to
weren't
other
exactly. I don't know what the word is. They weren't. They were very basic harmonies too.
Right. Yeah.
It wasn't like Cantrell and Staley.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Where the entire song is vocal harmonized.
Yeah.
You want to get into a little listener feedback?
We didn't do the album cover.
Yeah, come on.
What?
I mean, we can.
We didn't do
sure.
Oh, well, where'd you get that idea, Metallica?
It's boring but iconic. I mean, it's cool.
Yeah. That's kind of indicative of where their heads were in terms of like
Do you have
going the opposite direction of these
elaborate.
These
metal.
elaborate.
And I mean, I think it's also, it should be stated that this wasn't like, this is, the new White Album. It wasn't trying to kind of bounce off of what the Beatles did. This is just, it was just a Black Album.
Spinal Tap did that, so they didn't have to pick up that.
But Spinal Tap didn't try to do that. They wanted Smell the Glove, and got
their manager made that decision. But
what's wrong with being sexy?
The sexist. Oh, did a twist on it. I think the cassette. You don't have the cassette, do you, Tim? I feel like that was much more like you could see.
I have it in the room.
The colors, a little.
You could see the
contrast.
The different shades of black.
I'll see if I can find it. Next pee break, I'll see if I can find it because I think it's. I got all my cassettes out recently, so it might be in that box.
I can play a little
Maybe.
bit
Who knows
on
what's gonna happen?
why the album was called Metallica. I have a clip of Lars talking about why the album
Do
was
it.
called Metallica.
Send it.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that.
I think it might be because their band's name Metallica.
And by the way, I find it kind of confusing when I have to refer to both the band and the album as Metallica. After 4 albums with interesting names like Master of Puppets, Ride the Lightning, we asked Lars why the quartet decided on leaving this LP self-titled.
From the word go, I mean, as far back as when we were writing last summer, it just seemed like that this, I don't know, just get away from a lot of that stuff with fancy titles and, cartoon artwork and stuff like that. And we just, talked about going like all the way, not even having a title, not, just leaving it, kind of untitled or whatever. But in the 11th hour, just, we slapped the logo on the front cover and it just seemed that leaving it untitled and stuff just, I don't know, might be a little silly. So we kind of call it Metallica, but it's not really something kind of etched in stone real. We refer to it as the Metallica record, or, if anybody wants to call it, the Black Album or Metallica 5 or Metallica, is useless or Metallica sucks or whatever. I mean, it's pretty open.
James Hetfield had fun like that.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Well, they should have put a big fucking V on it if they wanted it to be called 5.
Yeah, really.
Snake.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it fits in with the direction they were going.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Simplified, music arrangements, simplified cover.
Yep.
Fuck it, just name it after the band.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Eponymous.
Yeah.
As it were.
Makes perfect sense.
Should we do some listener feedback?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And then
Hold up.
Okay, Landon Woods says, "Sell out." What a silly concept that they still get accused of that to this day. They proved, as they continue to do, that they can and will do what they want on their terms. This album brought metal to the mainstream. It was a turning point for heavy music. Everyone who listens to any metal that is remotely popular should be thanking them for this endeavor. Bob Rock is accused of changing their sound, but if you listen to the demos, the songs were already fashioned to meet their criteria of shorter and more to the point songs. Yeah, we talked about that earlier. The songs are still undeniably heavy and even still have their thrash roots in small bits. That is oftentimes overlooked because of how polished the production is. I've heard from several hip-hop stars that they themselves cite the Black Album as a guidepost for stellar production. How amazing is that? All of this on a game-changing metal album that gets overplayed to this day.
Metals in all caps.
Metal.
Metals.
Game-changing metal album that gets overplayed to this day.
He's emphasizing the metal.
Yeah, I mean, good points. We can talk a little bit about that. Yeah, I mean,
I think we already have.
Yeah, but he's absolutely right. I mean, I'd never heard the hip hop point, like hip hop stars point to this album as a guidepost for stellar production, but it's not surprising. I mean, the bass drum and snare is perfect.
Yeah, the drum sound is just perfect.
Yeah.
Was this the first metal album to go number one? Like proper metal album to go number one?
I could swear, I think, didn't Use Your Illusion come out before this?
Mm-hmm. No, same time, right? It was all like within a month, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think Use Your Illusion came out after this.
Okay.
I think by like a month or so. I'm pretty sure. I'm not positive.
I thought that they both came out in 91, was it not? I was like,
no, but he's saying like, he's saying
I could
like,
swear that
about,
I thought Use Your Illusion hit number one as a metal album first. Yeah.
Which also was number one.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question.
But it's the point is this did bring proper metal.
I don't know if that's a proper metal album.
That's more this
Use Your Illusions.
Yeah, let's just whatever. GNR. They deserve to get the. I would call them a metal band, no matter what the fuck you fuckers say.
Well, yeah. Anyway, this did bring proper metal to the mainstream a bit more than it already was.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah,
I mean,
well, and we talked about it already, but yeah, the songs were not. Again, I'll repeat it. They were not changed by
not written or changed by Bob Rock in terms of
arrangement and
arrangements. Yeah,
absolutely not. All right. Well, thanks, Landon, for the feedback. Who wants to read what Chris DiChiara had to say?
It's
long.
It's not that long.
All right, go for it.
He just split it up really well. Chris writes, he's got 6 points here. Number 1, I remember being in my first band at the time and listening to this in the car once. We annihilated Nothing Else Matters, of course. Number 2, I went to a drum shop to buy my first snare, and I told the guy I want a drum that would sound like Lars's on the Black Album. I was met with some enlightening comments.
I wish he had shared the comments.
I know, I do too.
I know, me too. We'll have to ask him next time he's on the show.
I can imagine what they were.
Number 3, one of the best kick/snare sounds ever recorded. We just said that, I think.
Mm-hmm. We did.
Look at that.
Yeah.
And he's a proper drummer.
He really is.
So,
yeah.
He very much so. Professional.
We must be right.
He gets paid to do it. Unlike the rest.
Ouch.
Burn.
Number 4, one of the best documentaries. I don't know what he's referring to, though.
Year and a half. I'm assuming.
Oh, okay. I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
5, another enlightening moment was reading Lars's feature in Modern Drummer and talking about grooving more and playing like Phil Rudd. I needed to hear this. Number 6. When it came out, my aforementioned band covered Enter Sandman, Wherever I May Roam, and a bit of Sad But True. What a bit? What do you mean a bit? They got to the solo, and I was like, it's too hard.
That solo's not that hard either. I think every cover band
know.
covered Enter Sandman, and still does, actually. I know we did. Punishment did. Tried to, anyway.
Wait, he says, he also writes, I realize I didn't really answer your question. What was the question, by the way, guys?
I think it was just, we were asking for feedback.
Just feedback.
What are your thoughts on the album?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So
we didn't even ask the questions.
Okay. He says, I think they have always had. I think they've always done what they wanted, and this was what they wanted to do in that period of time. They could have easily continued what Justice did, but they surprised everyone by doing what they wanted only. When it comes down to it, it was is part of. I think it was when it comes down to it, it is part of what's given them longevity. It is also healthy for them to do a more groove-oriented album because they sprinkle in that element here and there, here and here with their future releases.
I think you meant there.
Yeah, I think so too.
Here and there.
Let me reread that. It was also healthy for them to do a more groove-oriented album because they sprinkle in that element here and there with their future releases. They didn't really do that before the Black Album. And that's, I would agree with that. Well, maybe, yeah, here and there on the previous albums. But no, they really...
Harvester was kind of groove-oriented.
Yeah. And I think Moments of Master of Puppets. But yeah, they didn't really feature it as part of the song. It was just
really.
like...
The entire album wasn't,
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just beating the shit out of our instruments for the most part.
Right.
Should I read Naveed's?
Yeah, so this was all in one post, and then Naveed responded to what Chris said.
Is that kind of separate?
No, you can read it. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Naveed... Ow. Just broke my shoulder there. Naveed... His response is, as I recall, they said Justice was sort of the logical conclusion of the technical stuff for them, and that there was nowhere to go, so they needed to try something different. I think they also commented at that time about how mid-tempo tracks sound much better in arenas than fast ones, and they wanted to carry that over to the new material. This is just
reiterating everything we
so far,
said.
right?
Yeah. But yeah, no, that's true. So that's more than one person bringing up that point, so it must be true, right?
I think Lars actually said that at one point.
Yeah, I think so. I do remember that.
I think he had mentioned that. Yeah, he's like, these. Yeah, we don't have to cover it. But yeah.
Okay, Justin Hasler. Tim, you can read that. One.
Yeah, I can read that. Yeah, Justin Hasler. He says, "Man, really hard to keep this short. I had a lot going on in my life around this time when this was released, and was pretty much out of touch with the world. I remember people asking me if I'd heard the new Metallica song, and thinking, "What? There's new Metallica?" I went home and turned on my TV, knowing they'd play the video on the hour every hour, and it was over way too fast for me to really have an opinion on it. I bought the cassette on release day and instantly fell in love. It really opened my eyes to great production and pushed me more towards blues-style guitar playing. They got me really into Pink Floyd and forced me to buy a CD player so I could hear every detail. Also, I just had to buy my first wah, LOL."
I think a lot of people. I know I bought my first wah after this album came out for sure. I couldn't play the Enter Sandman solo if I didn't have the wah, right?
Well, I just love the fact that Metallica is what caused him to start playing blues.
I know.
That is funny.
But he's right. Like he's way bluesier than he'd ever been.
Yeah, it's a really good point.
This.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't think like, how'd you get into blues guitar, man? Well, listen to Metallica.
The Black Album.
Well,
that bluesy Black Album.
Time out. As much as all rock and roll came out of the blues. I mean, regardless of punk or metal or whatever, blues is the backbone.
I get that. I just it was just funny hearing that. But it makes sense. I'm not shitting on it. It's
it's just an interesting.
Like Kirk he never had solos like this before this album.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the healthier response to something like this, where it's new, is that you just sort of embrace it versus like, "Fuck you, you betrayed me, I hate you forever, I'm burning this."
And how great is it? How great is it when you listen to something and you're like, "Oh, that's different. I want to learn more about that type of music or genre."
Well, time out. Actually, I think actually this does bring up a good point, because I think, let's face it, I think we've even talked about this in the show previously. Metal as a construct, as much as rock and roll spawned directly out of the blues, metal itself has a lot more classical bass composition to it. A lot of stylistic use is, when you think of Yngwie Malmsteen. Flat out, he is the Paganini, of a guitar. The way he does things. It's very staccato based and very structural. And I feel that metal really held more of a musical element of more classical styles to it, as compared to more or less a lot of the rock and roll that spawned directly from you listen to the Doors, it's flat out fucking blues.
Yeah,
so there is a little distinction there, and with this album, as we've already stated numerous times, the change that occurred, speaks to that, I think, specifically.
Yeah,
greatly.
Okay. Well, thank you, Justin, for the feedback.
Has everyone? Oh, okay. I was wondering if everyone so far has been a guest on the show. No, Landon.
No,
quite a few.
Landon will be on a future episode, though, for sure.
Yeah.
We keep telling him we'll have him on, and we haven't had him on, so we owe him big time. Rob Lapahuska. This is short. Keith, you want to read it? Or?
I'll go ahead and take this one.
Go ahead.
It's a good last name.
Lapahuska.
This was a pivotal album at an interesting time in my life. First real concert experience in Landover, Maryland.
Me too.
Cut my teeth on the bass while learning these tunes.
No, wait. Justice was mine. Never mind.
Driving back and forth to high school in my shitty car with a shittier stereo, wearing out this cassette, watching these epic documentaries about the making of only added to the legend.
Yeah.
I think all four of us can, the shit car, the shit stereo.
Absolutely.
Blasting.
Absolutely.
I wonder if, I guess he was at the same show we were.
Definitely, yeah. Landover,
Did they play two nights or was it just the one night?
April 1st and 2nd, wasn't it? Right?
Yeah, April 1st and 2nd. It's 2 nights.
Yeah.
And we went to which one?
Both.
Well, I went.
I didn't go.
I didn't go to both.
What?
No. No.
What was the video that had?
Don't say.
You didn't go to both?
April 2nd was the one I went.
Oh. Then that must have been the one. Obviously, that was the one I went to also.
Yeah, so we went. Yeah, obviously.
What was the one they have clips from one of their videos off this album? I know that was recorded at Cap Center.
Oh, Sad But True. The video.
Okay.
Yeah, Sad But True.
My friend.
Wait,
Jason,
that was there?
Yes, my friend Jason Herding. You guys all were like, "Oh man, I was in the book." Well, my friend Jason Herding ended up in that video. So.
I'd rather be in the book. Nobody watches fucking videos anymore. I didn't know. Was it all from that show, or did they? I thought it was.
No, I don't know about all of it, but yeah,
it was all over.
Oh, okay.
From the tour, but
right.
my friend Jason.
Yeah. I think it was just.
Ended up, you can't tell it's him because he's just sitting there headbanging the entire time.
Yeah,
I remember they. I feel like every other video they put out from this album was basically the same fucking, mix of live.
Yeah,
shit.
they had Enter Sandman and Unforgiven. Those two were like pretty.
And Wherever I May Roam.
Wherever I May Roam, yeah.
That was a live one.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. The first two were conceptual, like.
Oh yeah.
And the rest were all just live shit. It was all just like,
It was lazy. It was lazy as fuck. Or they probably didn't have time to really shoot a video either.
Nothing else matters. Is all studio stuff.
Studio stuff, yeah.
And Wherever I May Roam was live. Saboteur was live.
Rome could have been really cool.
Unforgiven was live.
They didn't exactly live up to one.
No, they'll never top that though.
Well, I think that's what Unforgiven they were trying to kind of get more of a party.
But that wasn't that a Matt Mahurin joint? Like in every video from those like 3 years of around there would look like those. Like every scene faded in slowly.
Sandman was too. Sandman
and out.
Sandman and Unforgiven were Matt Mahurin.
No, Sandman was Wayne Isham.
Oh, Wayne Isham. I get those two confused. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay.
But every Alice in Chains video was Matt Mahurin, and they all looked the same.
Oh, and
they were all sucked.
And
then Jeremy, right? Wasn't Jeremy a Matt Mahurin thing?
Yep. I think he did some Soundgarden too.
Yeah.
Just use some more dimmer on the lights here.
Yeah, more slow mo, more slow fade out.
Can we get more shadow?
Yeah, more.
Oh,
shadow,
and there's a shot of a little girl with a doll.
Make sure she's crying though. She has to be crying.
There's an old car outside of a diner.
All right, I want to read the next one, but I'm going to read John Wilson's. We'll skip Eric. We'll come back to Eric, but I want to get some negativity in here because we've
Wait, is this John Wilson from Woodson?
It is, yeah. It's
no shit. Sick Pup.
Yeah, Sick Pup. He was in He was in my first band. He was in Punishment. He was the singer of Punishment. That's how I know him.
Singer.
Well, yeah, singer.
He was
awful.
before I was in there.
Yes.
Or was he? Were
No,
we
he was
there?
before.
And okay,
he was before. He
Huh.
was the first line. He was part of the first lineup. Anyway, so John says, when this album came out, I had never been more excited about an album release before or since. It was a change from their previous work, and I was not impressed. I played it repeatedly for weeks, waiting for it to get better, but it just wouldn't.
he doesn't understand how tapes work.
I don't think that's what he means, but yeah, okay.
Oh, okay.
I attribute much of my reaction to my age at the time, but I had always seen bands in competition with one another like sports teams. In the case of Metallica and Megadeth, it was quite actually real. I felt that my favorite band answered back to the incredible Rust in Peace with a terribly weak and slow-emoting Black Album. We weren't, in fact, calling it that yet. It was Metallica.
Negative.
Yeah, we were.
We were.
I was crushed. Well, on one day in September of 1991, I came home and took all my Metallica posters down. I even gave up on metal altogether. I never gave any other further work a listen, even to this day. I hardly listen to metal anymore, but whenever I try to listen to Metallica's first four albums, it's only a matter of 2 or 3 songs before I'm replacing them with Carcass. I never thought they sold out, but I believe they crapped out.
Wow.
Keith, did you ghostwrite this for him?
All right.
That is some taking things to extreme,
that's
John.
extreme,
Come on, man.
Yeah, that's
like,
extreme.
Well, hey,
Well,
you know,
he was a big Cramps fan, so.
yeah, I mean, geez. Look, I did the whole rip your posters down with Motley Crue, but that's just because I didn't like them.
Came to your senses.
They deserved it. You should have never had those.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I never stopped listening to metal because of an album.
he cannot say that this album did not change his life.
That's very true.
That's true. That's true.
This had a huge impact on him for sure. See,
So that's
And I'm glad he's still around. I haven't seen that guy since high school, so that's cool.
Later that year, I was in the same history class with Coach Coughlin.
Last time I saw him was about 10 years ago working at Dogfish Head. I have no idea where he is now. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Wait, Dogfish Head.
Well, if he hears it,
obviously, right?
Yeah,
if he ends up listening to this after he hears that he's on it, hey, John.
Yeah, man.
It's been 30, 40 years?
40 years? Last time
Feels
when I
like
was
it.
5. All right, let's go back to... oh, sorry. What were you going to say, Tim?
I was going to say, it's thanks for the feedback. It's kind of good to get the other side.
Well, that's exactly. That's I was hoping we'd get some because I know a lot of people don't. I mean, we have a person on this podcast right now who doesn't really like this album, so
We're going back to Eric.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I appreciate
Eric
this, but yeah, exactly. I mean, I had thrown this thing in seriously like 29 years.
Yeah. All right, Eric Hyder. Joe, you want to?
Yeah, sure. Eric Hyder writes, I think, although the stylistic change was very obvious, where else could Metallica go? The album, sonically, was the best produced album I'd ever heard. The drum mix alone is amazing. If one likes heavy music, it's arguable that one has to at least respect this album. Songwriting isn't as frenetic as Injustice, but is perhaps even more well-crafted. These songs worked with the songs and the production. It just sounds so organic. They worked these songs and the production. It just sounds so organic. And if Injustice was a jackhammer, the Black Album was someone lovingly digging and shaping a hole. Interesting.
That's interesting analogy.
Definitely never heard that description before. He continues, adding to that, new decade, new Metallica. I think for a lot of people in our age range, this was the defining album for whether or not one was willing to grow along with the artists or be beholden to some sort of standard bearing. Every person that cried this album and the band as sellouts when this dropped and got so popular didn't really like music as much as they liked gatekeeping. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Some more comments would help me out here, Eric. let me read that again. Every person that decried this album and the band as sellouts when this dropped and got so popular didn't really like music as much as they liked gatekeeping. I really like that term, though, don't you?
Yeah.
What,
gatekeeping.
Gatekeeping? You never heard that before?
No.
Oh, yeah,
No,
that's very common in a lot of genres of movies and things like that. Where if you stray from the path even a little bit, like Star Wars, if you do anything that's just not in this very narrow, view,
right?
People get all mad and they're like, "Well, you can't do that because that's against the fandom and it's against the rules of the fandom," and they're called gatekeepers. Yeah, they're just gatekeeping this whole kind of gatekeeping the fandom. They're saying like, "This is your very limited space where you can work."
Yeah,
and that's it.
I get it. And lastly, he says, I sort of feel like in a strange way this album paved the way for more mainstream acceptance of heavier music that unconsciously opened the doors for tons of the alternative bands that became huge just a bit later. I totally agree with that, Les.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. I can't think of an example right this second, but like a band that
I'd say Pantera did it.
What's that?
Later? Well, when it was Far Beyond Driven that went number 1, right?
Yeah.
In 94.
Yeah.
I think that, because that was friggin' heavy. Like that was.
Well, what about like Korn or Limp Bizkit?
Right, yeah. That's what I was trying to think of, like alternative bands. He says tons of alternative bands that became huge a bit later. So I'm trying to think of like bands that may have been influenced by this that were alternative bands that became huge. Like, I mean, I know one of the guys in Pearl Jam was a big Metallica fan and a big metal fan in general. And I think there's, and I know one of the guitar players, Stone Gossard maybe.
Sure.
And I know Kurt Cobain was a big Metallica fan too.
He was, yeah.
So, even just those two, I know I'm kind of narrow casting it to just grunge, but I'm sure there are tons of alternative bands that came out around the mid '90s that Metallica was a big influence on for sure.
Yeah, I can read Kevin's.
Yeah, go ahead, Kevin Kelly, your brother-in-law.
Brother-in-law. He says it was different from their old stuff, granted, and more commercial, but I still liked it. One of the last LP albums I bought. As far as them changing, doesn't every good band grow and stretch their capabilities over the years? The changes might not be everyone's cup of tea, but I think it's part of the growth process. I still put this album on every once in a while to give it a listen. I didn't even know he liked the old stuff.
No, I don't. No idea.
Why else would you put an album on other than to listen to it?
I didn't know he liked Metallica at all, as a matter of fact, and I've known the guy for over 10 years.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good point. I mean, good bands should grow and stretch, but my favorite band of all time really didn't. Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
But they kind of did, though.
They kind of. Well, I think they got older and couldn't play as fast. I think that's part of it too. Their notes are. I've been watching that guy Doug Helvern, that composer that does reaction videos, and I've seen him do a few reactions to Iron Maiden. He's like, and he loves them, the ones I've seen. The songs, but he's like, oh yeah, well they're in that. You should know they're in that key again, E minor. That's true. Every one of their songs, I can guarantee you, there's at least 3 chords in there. There's E and D, and they go down to C. So yeah, they didn't really.
Yeah, I mean nobody copies Iron Maiden more than Iron Maiden.
Yeah,
so
that's very true.
I mean, they're like the new AC/DC.
Yeah,
but good.
Yeah,
yeah, they're better than AC/DC.
The album is very good. I like it a lot. So
yes. Well, the next 3 are all from Keith's post,
and they're the 3 shortest. So I'll do my friend Brendan Scholl. Overly hated, excellent album, even if it's only a so-so album by Metallica standards. One of the best drum productions on a metal album. Period. If they had injected some thrash beats into Holier Than Thou or Struggle Within, it would have added more dynamic and strengthened the album as a whole.
Yeah, I agree with him.
Yeah.
I think
there are thrash elements in there.
Well,
and the fact that they're not fleshed out is the thing that may be frustrating.
Well, the biggest thing we need to stress here is, if we could talk about my band Treason. You guys don't know Brendan, and that's a joke at your fucking expense, Brendan. Brendan was in a band called Treason. He wouldn't stop saying, "Well, my band Treason," after every single fucking conversation we had with him for a period of 5 years.
He was very proud of his band Treason.
It's a damn rare thing these days.
It was a pretty good band, and one way or another. The next is Monica, former roommate or housemate, and she states, really changed me as a 7-year-old saying prayers at night, which references, the video to, Enter Sandman. And I will be honest, I never liked that part. I've always thought it was kind of cheesy.
That's
Dave
Bob
Mustaine
Rock's,
wrote it.
That's Bob Rock's son, by the way.
Yeah, that's Bob Rock's son.
Does the children's vocal in that?
Yeah.
One way or another. Finally, from my end, we get to my stupid fucking brother. Fuck you, Doug.
Damn.
I'll take that over fuck you, Lars.
All right. Would you like to raise the topic on the podcast that 30 years after its release, Enter Sandman still revs people up enough to literally cause earthquakes? Happened 2 weeks ago at the UNC Virginia Tech game. Go Hokies!
Bro,
pass the ball.
So I'm gonna correct him a little bit. It didn't literally cause earthquakes. It was on the.
Did it register?
It's registered on the Richter scale, I think. So.
All right,
so
Bond.
it's a figurative earthquake.
Ford, pass me the ball.
Ford.
Yeah, that is an awesome clip, though. I mean,
yeah.
Let's ignore the fact that COVID's still happening, and there's
so what's the deal with
300,000
that?
people standing like this.
4 people died as a result of that. But hey, it's still pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
What is the deal with that song and the Hokies?
I don't know.
They just use it to come out on the field every time.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
Is there a backstory?
Not that I know of.
I
so.
bet
Like
some drunken college kid was like, you know what we should play? Enter Sandman. And that was it.
Probably.
He might have been blacked out drunk at the time, so maybe nobody remembers that it was, that guy.
I know at one of the bowl games like 3 or 4 years ago, James Hetfield actually did a little intro before, and they played it at the stadium right before they started playing. James was like, "All right, Hokie Nation," or something like that. And he's like,
"Yeah,
here come your, Virginia Tech Hokies, give it up," or whatever. So it's pretty cool. So James is well aware of that.
The drum intro it lends itself very well to humongous loudspeakers with the drums when they kick in.
Yeah. All right, the last comment is from
Roger.
Buddy Roger, who's in the
Roger.
Virginia chapter of the Metallica fan club called Virginia Fuel. Roger Mikowski,
I believe.
He says, "I still remember the day I bought it and played it. At first, I was disappointed. This isn't thrash. Where's my Metallica? But one thing I've always liked about Metallica is that they do what they want. They don't care what people think. And the album grew on me. It's a great album that stood the test of time. Is it my favorite Metallica album? No. But it's incredible and an important part of the Metallica journey through the years. I think it's great that Metallica has one of the longest running, top-selling albums of all time. I think that's great too. Pretty cool.
It's it reminds me to think about, like, this album is probably not most Metallica fans' favorite album, is it?
I can't fathom how.
I don't know. I think it depends on what kind of fan they are, because I've talked to some fans who are casual fans, and they're like, "Well, of course the Black Album's their best, right?" And you go, "No, not really."
There's also an age thing too. I mean, I was going to comment on the comment that
with Monica
being 7 years old. Like, I know some people who are about 10 years younger than me. They were like, "Yeah, I love Metallica. The first album I got was Black Album, and it was amazing." It's like,
I guess. Well, okay, sure.
So it's
probably, if it was your first album,
right?
There's a good chance.
We talk about that on the podcast all the time. About our first album is oftentimes
our
favorite.
It's the one that grabs you.
Yeah. So
it's when you go to.
It's a big deal.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I was in a band. In A-Track Jones, Joe, that one of the bass players.
I was in that band too.
Yeah, the bass player that replaced you, Paymon, who has since passed away. Rest in peace. His favorite album was Load because it was the first album he heard by them. So
wow,
there you go.
It's the first time I've ever heard anyone say that.
Yeah, no, that was his favorite album. So,
Yeah.
so I think I agree with Tim. It's all about the type of fan. If you've been with the band since '83, you probably I'm pretty sure the Black Album is not your favorite album by them, but
Right.
Later generations maybe so.
If you first heard them in '91, it's almost definite the Black Album is your favorite.
Probably. Good chance. I mean, it depends on where you went with it, but yeah.
I mean, I was 16. It was my favorite album by them when it first came out, but that's because I was 16, and it's like, this is their best album yet.
Yeah.
Over time,
I mean, how many times did we play that album on that day? We played it all day long,
all week long. And that
all
didn't
month.
go off. That didn't go off. Yeah, that was on repeat for literally probably.
It was Nintendo, probably 64 at that point, right?
No,
Metallica.
I think it was still
Super NES.
Super NES.
Super.
Yeah.
NES,
Super NES. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely Super NES. Yeah.
I mean, to this day, that's the one band I get the most excited about when I hear there's something new coming out.
Oh, absolutely.
It's Metallica.
Yeah, of course.
Because it only happens once a decade.
if that.
Fuck you, Lars.
It is true. It's the last album came out in 2016, so it's already been 5 years.
Yeah. I mean, they've only put out, if you consider
don't hold
Load and
your breath.
Reload, Load and Reload are basically one album, so it's really, there's only been how many albums since this album came out? If you consider that.
Saint Anger just exists in our deep, dark, horrible nightmares.
Saint Anger.
So that doesn't count.
There's only 4 studio albums, if you
Since the
consider
Black
Load and
Album.
Reload one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's 30 years.
Yeah, I know. That's crazy.
There's been live things and
Lazy.
other things, but in terms of new studio songs,
Yeah, it doesn't
recording
happen very
sessions.
often anymore.
No.
We want Daddy to make us some content.
Well, thank you everybody for writing in. We appreciate that. Keep doing it. We'll try to put more content out there for you to comment on, but keep them coming. We appreciate that.
Yeah, we never get, that's rare. We get feedback.
Yeah, really.
Of any kind.
So
That's not true. We do all the time. It's just usually, it's not good.
It's
like
amongst ourselves.
I like that too.
Well, yeah, it's just us.
Yeah.
It's just us.
And why would we read that? All right, shall we move on to so here's should I
Whoa,
stop
the tracks.
episode?
Actually, wait, there was something else you wanted to discuss. The box set.
Oh, okay. There were a
Which,
couple
I
more
mean,
things. Yeah, that's true.
You know, the fact that
There's one big thing that we should talk about with the box set, yeah.
There's one big
I
thing.
don't think we've
actually. There's 2 things about that. One's really weird. The other one's really cool. The weird thing is the fact that I submitted the pictures.
Yeah.
3 pictures. The guy who submits the pictures doesn't get in the box set.
Yeah, that is
Tim is his ass is chewing gum over this one, man.
No, I'm in the Justice one quite a few times, so and that's probably why I'm not in the Black Album one. They're probably like, "That's enough, dude. You're in this one." So,
do you think they even knew?
Yeah.
It was the same guy?
You think that they were even the ones deciding what pictures made it in there?
I actually think it was an oversight because in the credits it says there are 3 pictures in here from Tim Ford, but there's not. There's only 2, and it's you guys and not me. So I think they were supposed to put all 3 in, and they forgot.
Well, the other thing with the Justice one is you got that one for free because you submitted pictures. They didn't do that on the Black Album.
Not yet.
Cheap.
They might still.
You might get a free one out of nowhere.
I might.
That would be pretty funny.
That wouldn't surprise me. I've already bought the things.
All right.
You're like, oh.
Just to trace back, for anybody who's wondering or guessing, yes, the pictures of the members of this podcast ended up in the most recent box set.
Yeah.
You didn't say that out loud.
No, we didn't. There's a book that comes with the box.
We were getting there. Jeez, Keith.
Yeah, there's like a, what is it, like 100-page book?
Actually, we
maybe?
weren't, so thank you.
Full of like Ross Halfin pictures and just stories from
Never heard of him.
From whatever, right? And
yeah,
in the middle of that book there's a couple of pages of pictures of people meeting the bands, and thanks to Tim submitting the pictures, there's a picture of Joe and I meeting Lars and James, and I look like I'm dead standing next to Lars looking like he's annoyed as shit, and
I look like a fat girl.
God.
With bad
We should-
glasses.
But we're in it, goddammit.
That's right.
No matter how we look, we're in it.
The story of that night might be on the next Metallica podcast because I submitted that story. Did you?
Oh, the
there was an
Metallica
email
podcast?
Yeah, there was an email that went out that said you have until like next week, or the first 500 submissions will be considered to be on the next Metallica podcast. So I ran in here and just quickly told that story in like a minute and a half because I was like, they probably want it short.
Did you like submit an audio clip or just a?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
An
wow.
audio clip. They said they want an MP3 clip of you telling your favorite Metallica story about the Black Album. So I ran in here really quick because I was like, oh shit, I got to get this in here quick.
I'm behind on the podcast, so I didn't hear that yet.
It hasn't been on yet. It's coming out next week, so I don't know if I'm on it or not.
Oh, okay.
I have no idea. But the story of you guys, the story of us meeting them that night and how those pictures came to be, might be on the next Metallica podcast.
We should tell that story right now.
Yeah, we should tell the story because
I mean, we're talking about the Black Album.
We're talking about that fucking album. Somebody start
we'll
talking.
talk about the tour, which
No, we should wait 30 more years.
yeah, yeah. So this was back in the day when you can just wait outside venues, including the Capitol Center or whatever it's called now, Capital One Arena.
Is it still there?
it doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, right,
Yeah,
that's right.
it's been torn down. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So, yeah, we literally just waited outside, where we knew where the buses or limos were going to come out of. So we just waited by that area, and eventually, here come the buses, here come the limos, and we're standing by this like barricade, and the first limo that pops up is Jason. He runs out and just comes right to us where we're standing. He's like, "Fucking chillin', man," or something like that. And it was.
He said it was cold as a motherfucker, man.
Yeah, and it was April 2nd, so it should have been that cold.
It was pretty.
It was
nice.
cold.
It was
It was
very
cold for April.
It was
Very cold. Anyway, so Jason's cool as shit. Like he was super cool. I wish I got a picture with him. I don't know what happened there. I guess he was just quickly
I
going
don't
to
know what
person to
happened.
person.
Yeah, must have been.
I remember when he was standing in front of me. I was like, "Dude, he's like the same height as me." Did that strike you, Eric? Like,
Yeah. He was shorter than I expected him to be.
he was like my height.
Yeah.
And you see these guys on stage all the time,
Right.
and yeah,
Well,
you think
Kirk
they're
is
giants.
very, very short. So
Kirk and Lars are both short.
Yeah, Kirk
We didn't
didn't. He didn't. He went home or whatever to the straight
Hotel,
to the hotel. And then in that picture with James, like he looks like he's 10 feet taller than me, and he's really not that much taller. I don't know what the deal was.
It's cowboy boots. He's wearing cowboy
I guess, yeah, because it was like, well, what the fuck?
boots. He's got the Gene Simmons giant heels.
Yeah, that's right. The crit. I'm gonna get you, sucker.
The fishbowl heels.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Lars was just sitting in his limo, so you don't get a perspective of height there.
No.
But yeah, super cool. I mean, I think I've told this story in the podcast where, Eric Josephson and I, or one of our old drummers in one of our old bands, was he and I were debating if there's a tambourine in the song "And Justice for All," which there is because I asked Lars that night, "Hey, me as a 16-year-old, is there a tambourine in the song "And Justice for All"?" And he goes, good ears, there is a tambourine. And he explained to me, like, we used this trigger and we did this. And I'm like, I tuned out.
You're just like,
okay.
It's Lars.
Exactly.
You're literally talking to me right now.
You're Lars Ulrich, and you're talking.
Can you sign my tablature book, even though you don't play guitar?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's why he's making the face. Like, why the fuck am I signing this?
He is making a face. I think he's making a "I'm too cool for school" face.
The MF.
That's what I always thought because he was super nice.
Oh yeah, really nice. In fact, there was a guy that was like a bodyguard guy, like being, kind of dicky, like, come on guys, let's move along. And like, I wanted to get a picture. I'm like, can I just get a picture? And Lars was like, no, it's fine. Come on. So I think he was more irritated with the bodyguard guy saying, come on, move it along than me. So hopefully that's the case anyway. But yeah,
that's not the best part of the story though.
No, go on. There's more to it.
The best part of the story is the fact that our car was parked right near the limo. And we were like, we could just get in the car and follow the limo wherever. I don't know where he's going, but
we can just makeup off.
We just get in the car. So
you're crazy nuts.
We're like, let's just follow the limo. So we did. down like the Beltway all the way to Georgetown, and that the limo driver knew that he was he knew he was being chased, and he started running. He'd like time the red lights to where it was like, by the time these guys get to this red light, it's gonna be, it'd be yellow. He's like, Beow.
Time out.
Like,
you guys saw this at the Cap Center.
Yeah.
The Cap Center isn't that far away from 495, and if you ended up on 495, what light are you running into?
in Georgetown.
We went into D.C.
Yeah, we're in D.C. So he hops off the Beltway, gets on whatever road you take
probably
to get to
Georgia.
Georgetown.
Yeah, Georgia Ave. Probably
something like that.
I know when we got into like the city proper, this guy was like full blown, almost running red lights, which meant that
he was flat out running them.
He's like, "Fuck you," and I was like, "Oh my god, we got to run this red light." I'm like, "We're gonna get busted," and he kept doing it.
I know.
Do you remember what happened though? You got to one red light where you're finally like, I got to stop, and then like 4 or 5 cars behind you just went zoom right past you. I'm like, I guess we should keep going.
Yeah, I forgot about that, but yeah, that's true.
Because there were other people doing the same thing.
Yeah, there were a few, not a lot, but enough.
Yeah,
and we finally got there, and Lars has every right at this point to be like, "Okay, guys, you got your fucking shit. I'm going to bed."
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't.
No.
He just sat there and waited for us. Like he got out of the limo and just waited for us outside of the hotel in that little, just not in the lobby, but just outside in that little, where you pull your cars up to get to your, take your suitcases out and all that stuff. Super cool. And this is Lars in 92, which is like, Lars in 92.
Rockstar Lars.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
White leather jacket Lars.
It's white leather jacket Lars, and he could not.
White leather jacket, no shirt.
Yeah. And he was
in
super
cold
cool.
April.
And he was super cool and hung out with us, and we took pictures and asked him questions and
asked about what kind of gum he's chewing.
Yeah, that's right.
I remember he had some dude brought up a demo.
Yeah,
that was so annoying. That guy.
Oh.
Yeah, and Lars was polite to him too.
He was.
He's like, I get so many of these, I can't possibly listen to them.
Yeah, he's like, if I listened to every demo I got, I'd never get an ounce of sleep. I think is what he said. And I think the tour manager was like, okay, he's got to go to bed, guys.
Yeah.
That was kind of how it ended, was like, he needs to go now. Because this is like 3 a.m. at this point. It was ridiculous. This is after like a 3-hour gig this guy just played.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he's remained that way too, to this day. Like he's, when you see him on those clips of the backstage stuff, he's super personable and just walking up to everybody, asking them how they are, like, getting their history, like, where do you live? Like, where'd you come from? Like, he's the coolest dude. And that's why I get a little irritated when people pick on him so much. It's like,
fuck you, Lars.
Yeah, I mean, it's like,
he's done some questionable things.
He has, sure.
And you're like, dude, what? But I mean, at the same time, like,
what's that movie? Get Him to the Greek.
Yeah,
he totally makes fun of himself in that.
Yeah, he does. He does.
Yeah. And I think he knows. He was right about why Napster shouldn't be doing what they're doing, but the approach was probably not the best approach.
Yeah.
I think he knows that too. Like he didn't need.
Yeah, he's grown up. He's grown up a lot.
Yeah, he didn't need to make it all about him. So yeah, that was us meeting with him.
Energy, aggression, power. To sum it up, it's a vulgar display of power.
Heavy metal speaks to the anger and despair of teenagers today, the same way that the blues used to speak to the despair and anger of the South.
Cutting it up big time.
Some cunt's recording this.